Welcome back to the show. Today I have the pleasure of sitting down with someone who's redefining what it means to be modern day creative entrepreneur. He's a real estate investor, a coffee shop owner, a champion of sober living, and someone who is not afraid to pivot and build with purpose. Please welcome Adam Colburn. And in today's episode, we'll unpack Adam's journey from flipping homes with creative twists to building businesses that serve the community and how sobriety has been a pillar in his personal and professional growth. These ones go be packed with wisdom, transparency, and inspiration. Let's dive in. Welcome, my friend Adam. How's it going, man?
It's going great. Thanks so much for having me, Alexis. Really appreciate it. Love what you're
No,
doing with the show, and so honored to be on.
yeah, thank you for the opportunity. And actually, for those who don't know who you are, who's Adam and what drives you today?
Sure. Yeah, so I'm Adam Colburn from Raleigh, North Carolina. I'm a husband coming on 12 years to my high school sweetheart, Rachel. We have 3 kids and we're actually expecting our 4th this Christmas. So excited about that.
Congrats, man.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll see if we even up the score. I have 2 boys and a girl right now, and so we always wait to find out the gender. So she'll be outrun by the 3 boys, or we'll have 2 and 2. So it'll be a fun surprise right around Christmas time. But that's really what I do. Everything I do is for my family, right? We want to build a legacy. I want to provide the life that they deserve, and so that's really why I got into investing in the first place. And then I'm a man of faith, um, been a believer most of my life, and have really kind of rededicated my life to the Lord over the last few years. And so purpose driven and impact investing is a big piece for me as well. Um, Money is just a tool in my mind, and so the more money we can make, the more impact we can go and make in the community and ultimately the kingdom. And so I'm always viewing investment opportunities through that lens. I'm a coffee shop owner, like you mentioned, and I'm a skateboarder. I'm a photographer. Just love living life, right? Want to experience as much as we possibly can while we have this limited time here on Earth, and leave a dent when I leave. So
Wow, man, I love that because we've been in the business for a while, and we recently have been doing this type of podcasts or interviews, and I mean, everybody wants to make money, which is cool. We need some, we need money. We have to pay our bills, right?
yeah,
But besides that, I see that you're giving purpose and to the money. Can you elaborate more on that?
yeah, sure. So I mean, I know we talked about sober living, and that kind of has been a big driver for us as far as like our long term holds. And so I personally have never dealt with sobriety issues, but I I know it runs through my family tree. Like most people,
Mm,
somebody that they know close to them or family members have dealt with some sort of addiction problems. And so it's a common need, and it's a huge deficit here in the US, right? The addiction problem is not getting any better. If anything, it's getting worse. And so if us as investors can come alongside these people and provide opportunities for them to get back up on their feet, get back into society, and make an impact that way, while also doing really well for us from an investment standpoint, cash flow, and ultimately providing more impact through the money that we're making, then why wouldn't we do that? Right. And
mm,
so that's how I kind of, the strategy fell into my lap. And then the more that I saw that it is such a huge blue ocean of opportunity, I really wanted to hone in. And that's kind of been my focus and my Mount Everest over the next few years, is that I want to provide 1,250 people safe and affordable housing as they transition out of recovery centers, all while netting at least $100,000 a month.
oh, nice, nice. So were you were thinking that way before, and or your thoughts were different, and if so, what was the turning point that made you to give purpose to the business, or
Yeah.
see the money as a tool or as a different way that compare what people think about money, in a daily basis?
Sure. Yeah, well, I mean, I think the switch really flipped for me because I would not say that I've been like a an entrepreneur my whole life. I think it's been like embedded in me. Both of my parents own their own businesses. They've done very well for themselves. Um, but growing up and going into high school and stuff, money was just a tool still, but it's like I need to go eat. I need to put gas in my car so I can go and do the things that I want to with my friends. It was never planning ahead, having a vision for a future or for a legacy. And that switch really flipped for me when my daughter Gwen, she's our second child, was born. She was about 2 months old, and so I was working at a pharmaceutical company doing maintenance work, and good job, pretty easy. Just typical 40-hour work week. And if there's no work to do, there's nothing for me to do, right? It's just I kind of have a lot of free time and decent enough pay, but there's only two or three ladder rungs that I could climb in that
Mm,
position, and then I'm capped out for the next 20, 30 years like the rest of my coworkers, right? And so we would go to work a couple hours, come back to the office, and all of my coworkers, which they're about 20 years older than me, they would just sit and basically stare at their 401ks all day long
mm.
and just waiting to retire, right? And
Wow.
I wanted so much more for myself, so much more for my family, and I'm like, what can I do that I can either supplement this or potentially leave this position to make more money so we can go and do the things that we want to do with the people that we want, and then ultimately sow it back into the community. And I think my faith is a big piece of that because I've always been kind of ingrained in my brain about like tithing, giving back to the church or to the community. And so up until this point when like fell into this investment space, like I never really had a ton to make that much impact, right? Like we would still give to missionaries, or if a church building is being built or somebody's down on their luck and they can't pay their rent, like we'll still step in and fill that gap. But um I just didn't have a lot to give, right? Like we'll give as much as we can, but I think that's going back to like money being a tool. The more that we
Mhm,
have, the more impact that we can make, right? And so once my eyes were open to the craziness that is real estate investing, and what we can do in this space and how we can utilize creative finance and all these different asset classes where there's massive opportunity for wealth, that we can in turn use some of that wealth to go and change other people's lives.
wow. So wow, interesting. Because I didn't know that you were or you had a W-2. So, but now it's makes me wonder. So, how your identity evolved from being a W-2 person and now an entrepreneur, an investor. I mean, before we started the podcast, you were telling me that you're doing a lot of things, man, and you're doing big things. So, I guess that your identity evolved over time, right?
Definitely. Well, and again, I think it was like it was this real version of me was kind of hiding under the surface of just like the skater kid that just wants to hang out with his buddies and not really like push myself forward. Like I always did well in school, but I was definitely one of the like the slacker guys. Like didn't really put a whole bunch of effort into it. It's like let me do enough to get by so that I can just get out of this class and go do whatever, right?
Mm,
And so um I don't really think that ever transitioned into work. Like I've always been a hard worker. I did a lot of landscaping. We did like hard manual labor is where I kind of cut my teeth out of high school and into in college and stuff like that. And so doing the work has never been an issue. It's just I think when I came across like this revelation of like the only way that I'm going to move forward is if I put that onus on me and not this other company where I'm just a
mm,
number on a spreadsheet, right? Because I think it was like 2 or 3 years into that job at the pharmaceutical company. Like I'm grinding away. I'm there after hours. We kind of have an on call. So like if there's an emergency where something breaks, so one of the team members needs to go in. And I would volunteer all the time. I live pretty close to the site. So I would go over, do all the extra work. I'm turning all my things in. And then a performance review would come. And so I check all the boxes. I'm exceeding in every expectation. And my managers are saying that, but I get no raise, right? Because there's only so many exceeds expectations, like a ratio for how many people are on the at the plant, and our specific business unit never gets one. we only get meats. It doesn't matter if you're the greatest technician of all time or you're just sleeping at your desk all day, you're going to get meets expectations. And so I'm like,
Crazy,
if
man.
there's no goalpost to run to, then why am I wasting my time?
Yeah.
And so, and again, it's like you kill yourself for this company to increase their margins, and they send you like a hoodie as a congratulations, thanks so much for letting us make $50 billion this year. And it's like, and then you're the first one to be cut if something happens in the business, right? You're just a number on a spreadsheet. And so I didn't want my income, my success to be held by some nameless entity that doesn't know me and see the value in that I'm bringing to the table. And so it's kind of that whole if not you then who mentality. And so it's like if I wanted to better myself, there's nobody that's going to do it for me. I'm going to have to bootstrap this, and so let's go and figure this out.
Wow. Isn't that crazy? Because the thing is that the way that I see is that people get immune, to this type of W2 environment, to the point that, the other day I was having a conversation with my wife, and she was saying, well, the thing is that my parents, they taught me that life is, you born, and then you go to school, and then you go to college, and then you get a W2, then you get retired. I mean, you get married, right? Of course, you get
Right.
kids,
Sure.
you get retired, and you die. Basically, that's life.
Yeah, that's
And I
it.
was like, oh my God, I guess that I was taught the same way, but I'm glad that I never continued that journey, because now that I'm in the other, I feel that's boring, man.
Yeah, it's
So
crazy.
anyway, it's crazy, man. So anyway, um, you own a coffee shop, but you are a real estate investor. What comes first? The coffee shop is the first venture, or you were doing
No.
real estate before?
Yeah, so I've been in this space in real estate investing for a little over 4 years now, and so got my start wholesaling, kind of cut my teeth there, and then we transitioned into fix and flips, and then started running 3 or 4 of those. Nowadays, we only do creative fix and flips, which I'm sure we can get into like that structure, but we did that. We started buying rentals, and so the coffee shop came about. Um, Maybe 2 years into the journey. And so I've been a coffee lover my whole life, like from the age of 16 when I had like my first really good, like top tier latte at the one shop in town at the time. Like it kind of opened my mind to what coffee could be. Right. And so, and I just love the vibe of the shop, making it like kind of this community hub where people are going to gather and come and get drinks or just meet up before they go out and do other things. And so it was always a bucket list item for me that like maybe one day when I'm successful and I'm old and retired, like I can own a coffee shop and just hang out there and get to hang out with the community. But it was not anything that I was actively pursuing. And so a buddy of mine, he's actually one of my neighbors. We were at a church together. I was playing music there as a contract musician, and he was the video editor for the media team. And so we obviously connected over coffee because we're both coffee nerds. And so we were having a game night with our wives over at his house and just kind of daydreaming, like, wouldn't it be so cool to own a shop, like, and be able to kind of build the menu and do like special events and stuff there. And I was like, yeah, it'd be sick. But it's like, I've got these flips I'm working on. I've got everything else. Like I'm too busy to figure out how to do this business right now. And so we left the game night, went back to normal. And it was maybe 3 or 4 months later, he calls me and he's like, hey man, remember that conversation we had about opening a coffee shop? And I was like, yeah, what about it? And he's like, well, do you want to do it? And I'm like, what do you mean? And so because he's a videographer, he owned a media agency on the side outside of the church, and he was doing a lot of marketing for a brewery in our town, and that
Mm,
brewery exploded during COVID, like year 7 metrics in year 1, because
wow.
there was nothing else to do, and people were just going to the brewery like crazy. And so the owners of that brewery, their background was in commercial banking, right? So their whole plan all along is like, if we can build up this brewery and get some capital, we want to buy up all the real estate in this downtown area. And so they went and acquired a building, and we're looking for a tenant. And my partner, his name's Kenneth, was talking to him and obviously just talking about coffee all the time. And they approached him and said, "Hey, we have this building that we're buying out at the end of the month, and we're really looking for a solid tenant. Do you guys want to do your coffee shop there? You won't shut up about it. Like, why don't you do it here?" And so we kind of looked at each other and was like, "All right, let's try it. Like, let's figure it out." And so neither of us had like retail coffee experience, right? We kind of are all just self-taught prosumer, if you want to call it that. Like, it's more of a hobby, like knowing how to pour the latte art and make the drinks and stuff. We did that, but I never worked in a cafe. And so we we brought a couple other partners involved and bootstrapped the whole thing, completely renovated the space. It was an old wedding boutique, and so completely gutted the space. A lot of blood, sweat, and tears went into the building, but I built out the bar. I got to use some of my contractor relationships from flipping houses to build it, and then one of the landlords, a part of the ownership group, he had his own GC company as well, so we kind of collaborated on that and got the shop open. And so it was a little over a year long process to actually come to opening day. Um, but we had a line wrapped around the door for like 4 hours on our first day.
Wow.
Um, we've been in a lot of like publications as like the top 5 shops in the Raleigh area, which we're 30 minutes outside of Raleigh, like the major metro. So people are driving to us to check us out, and it's more of like a destination, which is really cool. And so we celebrated our 1 year anniversary back in April, and we did, I think it was right around 300,000 top line revenue in a town of like 10,000 people.
Oh, wow.
So it's been an awesome experience. Definitely a lot of learning lessons, a lot of headaches, but yeah, it was more just a passion project, right? Like the money part of it was not an issue for me because we have all of our other businesses that are bringing in revenue. As long as the shop can sustain itself and we can have that space, then it's a win in my book. And we've already achieved that at year 1. And so it's been really cool to be a part of. I'm our chamber member as well, so I get to network with a lot of other business owners and um, talk to them about potentially lending money on some of our real estate deals because they've got cash sitting on the side. They don't know what to do with it. I can turn them into PMLs. And so it's been awesome. We hold meetups there, and I shoot a lot of my content there, like after hours, of course, right? I can't be doing a podcast in the middle of a busy coffee shop in the middle of the day. But yeah, man, it's been really cool. So that's it was a back burner issue. We have it fully staffed. I don't work in the shop day to day. Like I might pull a shift once a quarter, and or if it's like a special event after hours that I'm hosting, like we have a meetup coming tomorrow where I'll be behind the bar,
But
at least for a
how you
part of it.
manage it? Do you have a manager in charge of the employees?
Yes, yeah. So one of our partners that's involved in the ownership group, they had years and years of experience. They opened a shop themselves in Houston, exited that shop, and moved here to North Carolina. We were able to scoop them up, and so they help with all the scheduling and hiring and firing of people. And
Hmm.
so we have a staff of 7 baristas that kind of rotate shifts throughout the week, and then a couple other people that float when other people are on vacation or whatever. So like the day-to-day operations of the shop are completely hands off for me. I'm more back end. If something breaks, then I'll fix it because nobody else within the ownership group has like the construction experience like I do. And so I'll do that. I'll help sometimes with like inventory ordering and things like that. But the day-to-day ops of the shop, it runs on autopilot from my perspective.
Okay. No, I love that, and I'm asking because besides real estate, I own a business as well. It's a tech
Hmm.
company.
Yeah,
It's a little different because it's B2B, and but
sure.
it's very time consuming. And I've been like thinking, if I buy another business, maybe a small business, a B2C business,
Yeah,
the only way to handle it is with an operator, which is in this case because I tried to do it by myself, like I was doing it, as an
yeah,
operator. But then what I meant is that I was trying to combine the role as an operator to be a real estate investor, and man, forget about it. It's too difficult. So
yeah,
I got to the point that I was like, I talked to my wife and I told her, hey, I think that if we are going to pursue this real estate journey, you might need to jump in and help me as an operator, right? And that's exactly what we did. I mean, I'm still in the business and doing a couple of things here and there. Like
Sure.
right now, for example, I'm in Colombia because I have a team in Colombia, and I
Hmm.
needed to fly in here to sign some documents. But it's
Yeah.
not like a full time role,
Sure.
and that gives me the freedom to do real estate, which is cool.
Yeah.
And people ask me all the time, and I guess that you have the same question: how you handle many things simultaneously, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it all comes down to your calendar, right? And like Pace talks about that all the time, managing and controlling your calendar, and that's huge because wait, I've got three small kids, I've got our flipping business, we've got our rentals going on, which in my mind, I view as separate, right? They're different verticals. Then we have the coffee shop, we've got other things that we're working on the side. If I don't manage that time and schedule it, it's not going to get done. There's just too many
Mm,
other things moving throughout a normal day. And so being really diligent and possessive of my time on my calendar, dedicating it for money making activities, for follow ups, for family time. Because if we don't schedule that, then it's going to get missed too. And why are we doing all of this if I'm going to lose a relationship with my family? Right.
mm,
And so um, that's been huge. And then on top of scheduling is obviously finding those high dollar tasks that you and only you can do, keep those, and then find those lower dollar tasks that you can delegate to other people within your team, or hiring somebody, hiring a VA to handle those tasks for you. Because the only thing that we can't buy is more time for ourselves, but we can go and buy time from other people.
mm. Totally true, man. So, on the real estate side, though, I mean, typically people do fix and flip, like getting a hard money loan, right? Usually,
Yep.
typically, it's a 90% loan to value.
Mm-hmm.
And they do the flip, and well, everybody knows the process, right? But
Right.
you have been known by the creative flip guy. What does that mean? Can you break it down? What does the creative flips mean?
Sure. Yeah, totally. And so I like to call it a subtail and it's basically a like a sub to retail. Um, and or it's also been called like novation without the risk, if people are familiar with novations. And so essentially when I go to a seller and say, hey, I can offer you $350,000 cash, that's where most flippers are going to buy with hard money. They need the margin for the gap, the carrying costs, all that stuff for them to sell and make a profit. 350. Well, it's like I can offer you 350, or I could offer you 400,000 if you let me flip the house first. And they're like, okay, what does that mean? And I was like, well, I can give you some money now, some down payment money on your equity. I'll take over the existing debt on the house, and now I can pay that mortgage on your behalf while we renovate the home. I'll come in, I'll rehab the house. We'll put the house up on the market to sell. And then once it sells, you get the line share of your equity on the back end. And so if you're willing to wait 4 to 6 months, you're going to make an extra $50,000. What do you want to do?
Mm.
That's kind of how I frame
Well,
it. And
I
so
guess that is a no-brainer for the seller, right?
yeah,
It
if they're
sounds
in a
very.
position, yeah, if they're in a position to wait. And so like 90% of my clients, if you want to call them, the sellers that are open to this strategy are seniors. They're either downsizing, uh, moving to senior living or assisted living of some sort, right? Or they bought a condo at the beach and they don't need this massive house anymore. And so they have a beautiful home, and it's in a beautiful area. It's just got a lot of deferred maintenance, right? They've lived there 30, 40 years. They don't want to put the extra time and money into it, or they physically can't do the work themselves now because they're old. We know where they're going. We know how much it's going to cost. And this is their like the last of their largest assets that they own. Like, let's extend that. I like to call it equity assurance when I'm talking to these sellers, is that I can pay you this much more over time if you're willing to wait. And you can basically consider it a very short term, high yield savings account that's backed by your property.
Mm,
And so the way that I can do that is because I'm having to leverage so little money compared to a cash or a hard money offer. I can just pass those savings on to the seller. And so I can still make the same profit on a flip with a third or less of the capital involved that than a hard money lender option would provide. if that makes sense.
Interesting. So, do you when you throw out the strategy to the seller, do you run the numbers first to make sure that the strategy works in this case,
Yeah.
or you just throw the numbers out and then figure it out?
No. So I don't like just spitballing offers and then getting people under contract and having to renegotiate. I hate that conversation. And so I always like to be belly to belly with the seller as well when I'm talking. So like I'll go to the walkthrough, we'll run our numbers first, and then I'm using the same type of calculations that most flippers are using, right? Like 70 to 75% ARV minus repairs for the cash price. So I'm running that number, and that's where my cash offer is. But then I'm typically around 80 to 82% ARV minus repairs in this creative offer, and that can kind of that lift in percentage is the carrying cost, the gap funding, the points up front for those loans, all that wrapped into one. So I'm essentially buying the house for the same price on paper, but I'm having to leverage way less money from my private money lenders rather than going hard money and getting
Hmm.
better terms. And
And,
so I
and
can
typically, these loans has a better interest rate as well.
100%. Well, and then yeah, the lion's share of that debt on the house is going to be sub 5%, and it's
Yeah,
amortized, right?
yeah.
So then, like, maybe it'll make more sense if I provide like a quick example. And so a house that we did recently, beautiful house in a luxury neighborhood in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, so right by the University of North Carolina. Um, they originally wanted 700,000 for the house, but it was a complete wreck. It needed $250,000 worth of renovations. And so just talking to the agent on the phone, this was like a pocket listing. She's telling me, and I was like, the best I could ever do on a house like this in this condition is 625. But don't quote me. Let me come out with my contractor. I don't want to do this bait and switch game. Let me come and see the numbers, and I can actually give you like hard numbers for your seller to consider. And they said, okay, cool. So we go out there, and he's like, yeah, this is every bit like 200 to 250,000 in rehab. Like they've owned the place for 40 years, never did anything. No roof, no HVAC, no floors, windows, nothing had been touched. And at this point, it had been vacant for about 4 or 5 years.
Oh,
They were
wow.
at that same situation, bought a condo at the beach. Their kids were grown in their 40s at this point, had their own families in Virginia, and that house was basically kind of the go between. So instead of having to stay at a hotel, they would drive up from Myrtle Beach, stay at that house, and then continue on to Virginia. But it's just falling apart in this beautiful neighborhood, right? And so, okay, so 625 cash, I need 250. So now I'm at 875. The ARV on this house is 1.2 million. So there's
Mm.
still significant margin, right, for it to make sense. But I haven't cut into the walls yet. My contractor's giving me an estimate of 250, but we all know that it's probably going to be more than that. And
Mhm.
so, or at least I want to run numbers conservatively to account for that, like at least a 10% margin. And so, okay, I'm looking at it, and I basically come to the seller and I say, look, if you just want this to be a smooth cash deal, you guys can go sit Mai Tais at the beach. I can do that, but my number's 510, and I'm still nervous because we haven't cut into the walls. You haven't done a single thing to this house in 30 plus years. Like, this is a big risk for me. I can give you the 625 if you let me flip the house first, right? And still laid it out where I can give you $60,000 now. I'll pay your agent commissions. And so you're out of pocket, no money. I'll take over the mortgage on a house that's been vacant and you've been paying mortgage payments on for the last 3 years. I can pay those now. And then when we sell the house, you'll get the rest of your money. And they're like, okay, yeah, let's do that. And so we did the deal, and they made an extra $115,000 for being willing to wait for me to renovate. And then I won because rather than bringing $875,000 to the table, I brought 80,000 for the down payment and then the 250 for the rehab. So I'm all in 330 to make the same profit as if I would have leveraged 875,000.
So originally you said that he was selling the house for seven something, 720, seven
He was
fifty.
asking 700, yeah.
Okay, so 700. All right. So what you do is that you pay now the 620. I mean, using the strategy, of course, it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't cash, but
Yep.
then you give him the other $80,000 on the back end.
So yeah, so it would basically, I can't remember specifically what his mortgage was, but it was pretty low. It was like 200 grand, right? So they have like $425,000 in equity. And so the 80,000 that I gave him at closing was part of his equity. So then we remove that. Now he's got about 360 left over. I take over the loan sub 2 in first position for that 200,000, and then that 360,000 of equity is leaned against the property in second lien position.
with the
And
PML?
with the seller has become the PML, right? And
Oh,
so
really?
yeah, so it's first position mortgage, second position seller's equity, and then the money that I brought in for rehab is third position. But because I'm
Okay, and
getting
that
it,
money came from a PML as well.
yes. So the rehab funds came from a private money lender. Yes.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, so the sellers are deeded and secured against the property with a silent lien, right? I'm not making payments to them until we sell, but they're secured against the property, so they have peace of mind to know that I'm going to get the project done. If something ever happened to me, you're going to get the house back in renovated condition and be able to sell it. So they have that peace of mind. And then yeah, any other additional lenders were in third position or third or fourth. But because I have such margin on the house, right? Like 1.2 is my ARV,
Okay.
and then I need to be in like what 875. That's still like right at 75% LTV, right? I like to be at 80% or less, still have that equity cushion, so my lenders feel secure, right? And so I know obviously us like savvy folks in the community, second and third lien position scares people
Mm-hmm.
because they're like, well, what happens if this goes south? I'm going to lose my money. And in essence, yes, that's right. But I keep the total LTV low enough because this is not a hold. This is a flip, right? This is a quick turnaround to sell, and that I leave that equity margin so that I could slash prices if I needed to get out from under the deal. So my lenders are never in at a risk for ever losing money. The only person that might lose money at the closing table is me, and if that happens, I deserve to because I mismanaged the project.
Mm. So the way you structure these deals, are you transferring the deed or are you using the typical novation where the sellers hold it?
No. Yeah. So that's like that without the risk part of the novation. And so I close sub 2. I have the deed. I have full control of the property. And since we've already negotiated their equity position, whether I make $1, I make $1 million, they're getting that number that we agreed to. They don't see what I make on the closing statement because they're just a lender at this point. They're not a partner. With a
Mm.
traditional novation where let's say you, Alexis, are bringing the house to the table, I'm going to bring the funds to renovate it, you still have control because your name is still on title. And if we
Mm-hmm.
get to the closing table and you're making 100 grand, but now I'm making 200 grand, you're probably not going to be very happy with me. And there's a high likelihood that the deal doesn't go through, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because the seller is pissed off that I'm making more than them. And so in this scenario, it costs a little bit more for the closing costs, but again, for that peace of mind, it's well worth that extra
Oh,
cost
yeah.
that I have full control over the asset. And so I can do whatever I see fit as far as the exit strategy.
Yeah, that's really smart. Interesting. So what inspired you to get involved into sober living homes?
Yeah, so the first one that we got was it actually just kind of fell into my lap. And so we were building relationships with actually a dispo manager for a bank, like REO properties. And so one of the guys that was on my team, like as an appointment setter, built a relationship with them. He sent me a deal here, kind of in the middle of nowhere, North Carolina. And I wouldn't really ever do business there in a normal scenario. But we got on a phone call with the dispo guy, and he basically said, like, we're getting a lot of foreclosures right now. Like bank owned properties are coming back to us, and we need to get them off of our books. If you guys can make this a smooth transaction, I will send you all of our inventory nationwide before we give it to an agent.
Mm.
And he said, okay, like that's $1 million relationship at least if it actually works out. So I'm like, all right, let's try it. So we take the deal down in North Carolina. We flip it. We make a little bit of money, but it was more like a proof of concept deal for a couple of my other partners. They had never done a flip before, and so we brought them on board. And then we secured that relationship with the dispo guy. And so the next deal he brought me was my sober house, the one in Knoxville, Tennessee. And so it's a 5-bed, 3-bath house. It's less than 5 minutes away from the University of Tennessee, pretty close to a bus stop. Checks all these boxes. My initial intention for it was to be an Airbnb because it was so close to the school. And the University of Tennessee is like a big sports school. Their football team and basketball team like bring in a lot of people. So I'm like, this could be like the bachelor pad spot. Like we had a unfinished basement we were going to turn into an arcade and like a bowling alley, do it all themed like the school and stuff, because all the competitors were like 2-bedroom bungalows in the neighborhood, and then we have this monster house with a big yard. And so that was my initial intention when I first saw the deal. And so I reached out to a buddy in sub 2 that lives in the Knoxville area, and he went and walked it for me, so we could get photos. And I was telling him what I was thinking, and he was like, I would really check with the city if that's possible, because they've been cracking down on Airbnbs really heavy in this area. And I was like, okay, good to know. And so sure enough, they didn't ban it, but they essentially made it impossible for an out-of-state investor to run an Airbnb. They require it to be your personal home, like your primary residence, and it has to be in your personal name, and something else. Like there was a limit on how many days out of the month you could actually use it. So I'm like, well, that doesn't work. I'm here in North Carolina and none of the other partners are involved, and I'm not going to move into the house or do some weird loophole, send my mail there and have to collect it. Like it's just, we're not doing that. And so now short-term rental won't work. I'm kind of going through the exit strategies of like, okay, maybe midterm, there's a hospital close by with the college there, but this is such a big house. If I'm a nurse and I'm getting my housing paid for, I don't want to live with strangers and do like co-living if I don't have to. And I definitely don't need a 5-bedroom house when I'm only going to be there to sleep and then go back to work. And so long-term rental didn't really make sense. There wasn't a ton of margin for a flip. And so I'm racking my brain, like, what can we do with this house? And I was going through the sub 2 vault and came across one of the sober videos that he did with Patrick Legenzoff out of Phoenix. And I was like, that's really interesting. And I like the purpose behind it. That would be cool if we could do something like that. And so I met with another sub 2 member. His name's Tom Illingworth, out of Greensboro, North Carolina. And he was working with the Oxford House. And they're a nationwide nonprofit that focuses on recovery houses. And I was just asking him his experience, and he's like, yeah, they've been great. They pay on time. Like they're easy to deal with. I have no issues with them. And I was like, okay, cool. And because they're nationwide, they're kind of the low hanging fruit in that space. And so I just started doing research and cold calling and finding representatives for Oxford House in Tennessee, and basically just said, hey, my name's Adam. I'm a local investor. I have a property in this area. I was just curious, do you guys have a specific need for housing right now? I'd love to provide an opportunity. And they're like, oh my gosh, yes, we are like desperately in need of houses. When can I come see this house? And I was like, you can go there right now. It's on a lockbox. And so they go check it out. Not even an hour later, they call me back and like, we love this house. When can we move in? Let's get the lease started. And I was like, whoa, guys, like pump the brakes. This house had been vacant for 2 years as an REO. Like it needed a full gut renovation. But I know that my tenant is right here. Like they want it desperately. And so we go through the rehab, do a DSCR on the thing, put them in place. And it works out great, right? Like average rent in that area is about $1,800 for this house. I'm locked in on a 2-year lease at $3,100 a month with no overhead, no management fee. They pay utilities, they pay internet. It's just my debt service that I have to cover. And so we're clearing like around $650 a month cash flow in that strategy, which compared to a regular rental is fantastic. And no overhead or no involvement. I can just sit in the landlord seat. Like I talk to my rep maybe once a quarter. I just get a check on the first of the month, regardless if the house is fully occupied or there's only 2 people living in there. Because the lease is not with the tenants themselves, it's with the organization, and they go and find the tenants. So it's been awesome. And we get to provide that service to the community for these people that really need the help. And so that was the first one that we did. And as I did more research and looking in other markets, that the problem was just as bad, if not worse, in a lot of different areas. And there's still so many little tertiary towns that have no support for these types of homes. And so we've been building relationships still with Oxford, but then also looking at bringing more of the operations and the house management in-house to our team, or hiring people to specifically run these homes, so we can have housing not just for sober, but for any type of transitionary period, for people coming out of the prison system, for children aging out of foster care, um, battered women shelters, things like that, behavioral health homes. Like, we just want to, for these marginalized folks, we want to be able to provide clean, affordable, safe housing for them, um, because it's such a huge need. And then again, we're getting elevated cash flow for ourselves that we can just turn around and go buy more of them. So it's like this full circle moment where we are able to impact, we get to profit from it, then we turn around, go buy more houses to go make more impact, and then the circle just keeps getting bigger.
Wow, that's really cool, man. Really, really cool. So,
Thanks.
what legacy do you want to leave behind for your family, community, and the people you serve? Because you're doing so many things. You're doing very cool stuff. I'm thinking that I'm wondering, there might be a legacy in your mind that you really wants to leave behind.
Um, I mean, I don't have like a specific door count. I don't have a specific like net worth. I mean, obviously, like I said, my faith is huge to me. So like, all I want somebody to know is that I love the Lord, um, and that I love my family, and that I think that you are still worthy enough to go and try the thing that you want to do.
Mm,
Like, and like that saying I said earlier, like, if not you, then who's going to go and
mm,
do this? Who's going to go and
mhm,
make that impact? Where you see that need, let's go fill those needs. Right.
mhm,
And so it's like, he did the thing, he took the action, he saw the problem, and he wanted to go and solve it to the best of his abilities.
mm. Interesting. My friends, where can people follow you, your journey, and connect with you directly? I'm pretty sure that there's people that are getting inspired by this conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. So all my socials, Instagram and YouTube, are at the Adam Colburn. You can reach out to me there, shoot me a DM. If you're looking to bird dog deals, like, because we're always looking for people to send us opportunities or join a team, I also have a website. It's called adamsbuybox.com, and it's got all the things that we're looking for, ways that we can get involved with each other. You can book a call there, and I'd love to connect with you.
Nice, nice. Man, thank you for sharing your story, your strategy, your soul with us today. And to everyone listening, I hope this episode challenged you to think differently, act boldly, and lead with intention. And of course, make sure to follow Adam's journey and his social media. And one more time, man, thank you so much for sharing your story with us.